All right. Hey, everyone. Alexa here, and I have my guest tonight. Her name is
Nook.
Hi, Nook.
Hi.
Woo. So tonight we are talking about a familiar story here in the Ozarks, and the story is Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
Yes, ma'am.
Da-na-na-na-na-na. So this story is so crazy because it legit happened here in Springfield, Missouri.
Right.
Like, it is just so wild. But before we dive into the story, um, just so you all kind of know, I'm changing the podcast a little bit. So normally you guys would see cadence every week, but now you're going to be seeing different people every single episode. There's going to be somebody different. We're going to have repeat people. So Tony might come back. I mean, hell, I think I fired him, but he might come back. Nook will probably come back. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be fun.
I think it's going to be a great way to change things around,
Yeah.
open maybe new possibilities.
Right.
Yeah,
I
for the
think
show.
Yeah, I think
Mhm.
so too. I think it's going to be fun. So we are keeping the consistency of the something spiked. Nook does not drink because she gets a thing called Asian flush.
Fever. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, fever, flush.
Yeah.
Basically, I turn into the Kool-Aid man.
The Kool-Aid man.
And then, like I tell people, I'm like, it's basically having the worst hangover of your life while your heart is racing.
Ugh.
And then you literally are vomiting as you're drinking.
Oh my God.
Not fun.
Yeah, not fun at all. I probably wouldn't drink either because I can't even imagine. I can't imagine how that would feel. Like, legit, I can't imagine how that would feel. And I mean, I didn't drink for, I don't know, it was like 9 months while I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And then obviously a couple of months after that, after having the baby. And I don't know. I can't imagine not ever drinking
You have
again
to baby
because
step
of
your
that.
way back into it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did. Oh my gosh. It was like the taste of alcohol after not having alcohol for so long. I was so sensitive. I'm like, how did I ever drink this? It's just like so gross.
And I tell people all the time, I'm like, I can literally taste it. And nobody can because I always ask for Shirley Temples when I go to, any bars or whenever I go out.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, that does not have alcohol in it. I'm like, yes, it does. It tastes like rubbing alcohol. That's what that smells like to me.
Yeah, I think I remember like I made you a drink once and there was barely any alcohol in it. I said, no, you can't even taste it.
I'm like,
Yeah,
I can taste it.
I can taste it. So our something spiked. I'm drinking a rosé and Nook is drinking a body armor. So
Yay, cheers.
It looks very similar, but it is not the same thing. So
Yours probably tastes better.
to me, but not to you. So we are doing a story on Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and we're also doing a drinking word. So every time we say the word, we'll take a sip. So you are going to get hydrated, and I'm going to get dehydrated. But what should the drinking word be? Think about it. Should we say maybe her mom's name, Dee Dee?
Yeah,
Ooh,
that's a
that's
good one. Oh
good.
my God, you're gonna be boozed up,
I
lady.
know. I will. I'll take small sips. Okay.
Dee
Dee Dee. So if you hear Dee Dee, take a sip with us. So before we get started, I will say the disclaimer, and then we're going to dive into it. So our videos and podcasts are for entertainment purposes. All information discussed was found on the internet. Keep in mind, we will talk all things sinister that may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. So, little bit of backstory about this story. Obviously, you know, but some listeners may not know. So I'm just going to give a little bit of a backstory, like kind of tell how everything happened and where she is today. But first and foremost, we're talking about, again, Gypsy Rose Blanchard. She was from Springfield, Missouri. Well, originally from Louisiana, but lived in Springfield, Missouri. And she ended up murdering her mom, or being a co-conspirator to murder. God, I can't talk. We are primarily talking about like her recent update today. I mean, we have found out that she is getting paroled early.
Girl was on her best behavior.
Best
Good
behavior. Yeah, right.
Good for her. Yes.
Uh-huh. And she's getting out right after Christmas, December 28th.
Yeah. I think that's good for her.
I mean, I have mixed feelings about it, and I feel like we're going to talk a lot about it here in a little bit. But yeah, I go back and forth. With it. So her and her boyfriend, Nicholas Godejean, planned her mother's murder back in 2015 here in Springfield, Missouri. Nicholas was the one who ended up stabbing Dee Dee, her mom. And he stabbed her to death because she was holding Gypsy hostage, I mean, for the most part, for her entire life. We know she was never going to let her go. She was never going to be free. And so Gypsy eventually just convinced her boyfriend to come and murder her mom.
Essentially the mastermind behind it all, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
I think so too. So Dee Dee had what is called Munchausen by proxy.
And then, Alexa, for those who don't really know what that is, can you kind of give a small example of what that is?
Yeah, so it's basically a condition where you think that somebody is sick, or you are consistently trying to make them sick for attention, like for your own attention. And so what we learn is throughout Gypsy's entire life, Dee Dee was making her sick.
Basically putting her through her own hell.
Yeah.
In her own home.
And so Gypsy ended up being sentenced to 10 years in the Chillicothe Correctional Center here in Missouri. But, you know, let's take it back a little bit. So Gypsy was born on whenever Dee Dee was 24 years old. And she became pregnant from a man named Rod Blanchard, and Rod was way younger than her. He was 17 at the time when she was 24 years old.
Dee Dee was a cougar before she, being a cougar was even a thing.
Before it was even a
Basically
thing.
making it a trend before she even knew, ahead of her time.
Exactly. Good job, Dee Dee, to that. But so, at this time they were living in Louisiana. She was estranged from her family for the most part. Rod described her as being very different. He even said that at this time in her life, she was into dark things like witchcraft. She kind of obsessed about it. He also said that she had a very obsessive personality, and that makes sense with the Munchausen by proxy, because they end up becoming so obsessed with any little detail where, they consistently think that somebody's sick. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense. So, I'm not going to talk much about Dee Dee, but Gypsy was born July 27th, 1991. And according to Rod, she was a perfectly healthy baby. Him and Dee Dee ended up getting married, too, right before she had the baby, just because he thought it was the right thing. Obviously, it was not the right thing to do because they shortly split up after.
I'm sure back in the days, that's the traditional thing to do instead of getting pregnant out of wedlock,
Right, exactly. And even though it was in the 90s, still, that I feel like even in the 90s, that was still a thing. People,
you think?
I think so. I mean, my parents didn't do it. They never got married. But
it was too taboo back then, I still feel like.
Maybe.
A little too early, too soon.
Yeah, definitely too soon. He was 17 years old. I mean, 18 by the time that Gypsy
Is that grooming?
was born. Kind of. Ew, kind of gross thinking about was she a pedophile? Maybe. Maybe. So when Gypsy was only 3 years old, Dee Dee started thinking that Gypsy was suffering from sleep apnea. So this is how quickly the Munchausen by proxy started.
Okay.
The poor baby is 3 months old. I mean, babies don't sleep well at 3 months old. So you think that the baby has sleep apnea, but come on, it's just a normal baby.
Maybe it's just the control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, this spiraled out of craziness. So Dee Dee ended up thinking that not only did she have sleep apnea, but then it was shortly followed by leukemia and then muscular dystrophy and then asthma and then vision loss and hearing impairment. And then she was having seizures and learning disabilities. I mean, every possible condition she thought Gypsy had.
And where are all the doctors?
Yeah, so we'll get into a little bit of that. But at this point in time, all of the tests that Dee Dee were having done for Gypsy, they would all come back as inconclusive, which is weird to think about.
Does that make you feel like it says something about the doctors in our area?
Absolutely.
I hate to say that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. So the poor girl, poor Gypsy, she had been in a wheelchair since she was 5 years old and on a feeding tube when she could walk the entire time and she could eat real food.
Did she know this, though?
Yeah, she knew it. I mean, in an interview in 2020, she says that she knew that she was fine. She knew she wasn't sick. But as a child, she was so confused. She's like, I'm supposed to be learning from my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother, is supposed to be doing everything right for me. And she was not. So she knew that something was wrong, but she was terrified. Can you imagine being raised that way since you are 3 months old?
No, because
you don't know anything.
That's what I'm gonna say. I was like, does she know any better? How would she know? And where's the help?
Right.
Who does she ask for help for in that situation? Then when
Right.
the person who's supposed to care for you
The most
is the one who's harming you.
Yeah. I know. It's so sad.
Dang, sis.
Dang.
Dang.
I know. And then because she apparently had leukemia, her mom ended up shaving her head. So the poor girl didn't have any hair, which is not okay. A little girl to not have hair. Can you imagine how she must have felt? Her mom is breaking her down even more.
Probably making her feel really low about herself and her self-esteem, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's so
sure.
sad.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I'm sure I can't even imagine what she was going through living in that situation.
Yeah. So they ended up moving to Missouri after Hurricane Katrina because one of Dee Dee's sad stories to make people feel bad about, or, bad for them was that they lost their house in Hurricane Katrina. Yeah. So part of the stuff that she had lost were the medical records. So whenever they moved to Missouri and got all new different doctors here in Springfield, all the doctors were like, okay, she has leukemia. Okay, she has muscular dystrophy, but we need her records. And so Dee Dee would say, well, I lost all of her records, and so did the hospitals in Hurricane Katrina, so we don't have anything.
Okay, so maybe give the doctors a little bit of grace. Mm-hmm. Okay.
A little bit of grace, but they should have done additional testing, in my opinion. If somebody has leukemia, it doesn't just magically go away, especially at the level that she was saying that she had it.
Right.
So, she was the ultimate scam artist. Her ex-husband, Rod, said that at this point in time, he was paying $1,200 a month in child support. And she was receiving disability checks. And she was receiving donation after donation from churches, hospitals. They moved up here. Habitat for Humanity built them a home for free, wheelchair accessible. You name it. They would get free trips to Disney World, to concerts.
It's
all of it.
It's people like that who take advantage of those who actually need assistance that make me want to.
Oh, it makes me so mad.
Yes.
And that's where our tax-paying dollars are
going.
I know. Wasted. I know. It's so sad. It makes
How frustrating is that?
I know.
I'm like, how do you even become that good of a scam artist?
Right. And how do you sleep at night? Not only are you doing something terrible to your daughter, but you're scamming the people that actually give a shit about you.
Right. Clearly a little bit of narcissism in there, just a tea bit.
Yeah, just a tea bit, or a lot of tea. A lot of tea bit.
A lot of tea.
So when Gypsy was 14 years old, she ended up seeing a neurologist here in Springfield, and the neurologist ended up turning her into a caseworker, saying that she thinks that Dee Dee has Munchausen by proxy because seizure test after test, MRI after MRI, they were coming back inconclusive. They're like, she doesn't have seizures. There's nothing wrong with her brain. There's nothing wrong with her neurological system. Like, she's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But her mom is so adamant about her having all of these conditions. I think her mom has Munchausen.
And it took this caseworker to notice this and note that.
So the caseworker had received a second anonymous tip from another doctor. And whenever the caseworker went out to the house, she found nothing wrong. She's like, no, Dee Dee's fine. Gypsy's just a sick little girl. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this caseworker was supposed to be protecting Gypsy, and she did nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. So fast forward to 2012. Gypsy met Nicholas Godejohn, ended up meeting him on a Christian dating site where she told him everything that her mom had done to her.
How did she have access to this?
They ended up having a computer, and they shared so Dee Dee and Gypsy shared a Facebook page. It was like Gypsy and Dee Dee Blanchard, or Dee Dee Gypsy Blanchard, or something like that. And it was mostly so they could get, support from donations or churches. And Dee Dee would post on there what her daughter looked like and the wheelchair, so people would feel sorry for them. So not only did they have the social media site, but they also had like a laptop computer in the home that was probably gifted to them, right?
Was she using this whenever her mom wasn't around?
Yes. However, her mom had found previously, like, she had talked to other men, and she had tried to get these other men to help her get out of the house. But Dee Dee would end up finding out what was happening and either taking the laptop away or,
And
whatever
how old
the
is
situation.
Gypsy at this point?
So it's 2012, so she would have been 19, 20.
Okay.
Yeah. So an adult, she could have easily left, but she was just manipulated and terrified.
Do you think that's the truth?
I don't know. That is where, like, I go back and forth with this case because poor Gypsy doesn't know anything other than what she's been experiencing her entire life, right?
She's not had anybody be able to help her, obviously. So the people who, her caretakers, her caseworker, her doctors, nobody's been able to.
Even her dad.
Yeah.
Her dad didn't think anything of it. Like, her dad was like, oh, well, my ex-wife is doing an amazing job taking care of our daughter who has all of these illnesses and disabilities. So she had nobody in her corner.
Right.
So I don't know. Like, part of me thinks she didn't know any better. So she didn't know to just leave. And I'm sure people that she talked to were probably like, well, why don't you just leave? But also, if you think about it,
Where's she going to go?
Yeah, where's she going to go? She has no money. She doesn't have a job. She hasn't gone to school. I mean, she was homeschooled.
I was going to say, what's her level of education at this point?
None.
Even at the age of 20?
None. Yeah. So I don't know. It's weird to think about,
It definitely makes you think.
Yeah, it does. So she meets Nicholas Godejohn on a Christian dating site where she ends up, spilling the beans and telling him legit everything. And then, like, she jumps right into it and was like, would you kill my mom if I asked you to? On a Christian dating
That's
site.
not a red flag. No.
And what?
Hey, would you murder my mom? Thanks.
Please, so I can leave.
What you doing on to Tuesday, huh?
Huh? You ready to kill? So it's crazy because he was like, yeah, I will. I'll do it. Like, he felt bad for her.
Well, I guess if that ain't love, I don't know what is, ladies and gentlemen.
If your man ain't killing for you, then you got the
Wrong man.
So fast forward, they had been in a relationship, like an online relationship, for almost 3 years. Fast forward to June 13th, 2015. Nicholas traveled from Big Bend, Wisconsin. That's where he lived. And he checked into a motel here in Springfield. When he got there, he had received a text from Gypsy saying that Dee Dee was asleep, so he came over. Gypsy gave him a knife, and then she went into the bathroom, put her hands over her ears, while Nicholas stabbed Dee Dee to death.
And how many times did he do it?
I didn't see, but it was quite a bit. It didn't say the exact number of stabs.
Did they ever mention if you could hear?
Yes. So she says, quoted from her 2020 interview a few years after being sentenced, she said, "I honestly thought he would end up not doing it. I heard her scream once, and there was more screaming, but not like the kind in a horror film, just like a startled scream. And she asked, who was it that was in her bedroom? And then she called out my name about 3 or 4 times. At that point, I wanted to go and help her so bad, but I was so afraid to get up. It's like my body wouldn't move. Then everything just went quiet." So
well, that's some trauma. That's called trauma.
That's called trauma. Yeah. So she hears like everything going on. She wanted her mom to be murdered. She wanted to be able to live a life without her mom, without the control. She wanted to be an adult. She wanted to just experience life. And then she's listening to her mom be murdered in the other room.
Right. And at that moment, I wonder what she was thinking.
I think she probably thought that she fucked up, in my opinion. But she clearly wasn't too scared, because right after that, they ended up having sex, her and Nicholas, in the house. They couldn't even wait to make it to the hotel. They ended up having sex in the house, and then they decided to go to the motel, and they ended up sleeping, and then they caught the next bus back to Big Bend, Wisconsin. So she says this stuff. That's why I'm like conflicted about, it's like, is she really sorry about what happened?
But then you could do everything that you did afterwards.
Yeah, like who could have sex after listening to their mom being stabbed to death?
Especially when everything went quiet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So quiet that it turned you on.
Yeah. I don't know. So again, Dee Dee and Gypsy shared a Facebook because Dee Dee was so controlling, obviously. A post was made right after she was murdered, and it said, "That bitch is dead."
No.
Stupid.
Mistake number one.
You don't put anything on social media.
Don't put anything on Facebook, especially the bitch is dead.
The bitch is dead. Then another post followed that said, "I fucking slashed that fat pig and raped her sweet innocent daughter. Her scream was so fucking loud. LOL."
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Nicholas.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we see you. We see you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so Gypsy said in the interview to 2020 that she had told Nicholas to post all of this so her mom's body would be found, because at this point in time, she's apparently feeling remorse. So she wanted her boyfriend to post all of this.
So he could catch the fall for it all?
But post on their Facebook? Like,
Well, it would. I mean, why would you post that on your own Facebook? That's going to make everybody else concerned.
Yeah.
So maybe that is the point of it.
Maybe.
To get everyone's attention.
Yeah. Well, they did, because.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yes. And she even said in the 2020 interview, quote, she said, I couldn't stand the thought of her just there, because what happens if it would have taken months to find her? So I wanted her to be found so she could have a proper burial.
Is this before or after the advice of her attorneys?
Definitely after. Yeah, definitely after being sentenced. So again, like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know. So the following day, they had obviously gotten into Big Bend, and they were both taken into custody for murder because it was kind of, clear as
Sloppy.
day. Yeah, it was sloppy, and they're like, "Whoa, where's Gypsy? Oh, she just got a bus ticket to Big Bend, Wisconsin.
She grew legs and she can walk miraculously, you guys.
Wow, she's in Big Bend, Wisconsin." So both of them were taken into custody for murder and armed criminal action. Nicholas was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for first-degree murder, and an additional 25 years for armed criminal action. And then Gypsy was sentenced to 10 years in prison for second-degree murder. So if we fast forward to today, now she's getting released due to good behavior on December 28th of this year.
Girl got something to celebrate.
Yeah, she does.
Happy New Year to Gypsy.
Happy fucking
New Year, Gypsy.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And she will be 32 years old. I can't, picture your life. You haven't had an adult life at all, except in prison, behind bars. And now you're going to be getting out. You don't know how to think about, the simplest things. You don't know how to go grocery shopping.
Girl, does she even know how to tie her own shoe?
Right.
I'm like, do you even know how to, grocery shop?
Yeah. Can you order a cheeseburger from McDonald's?
Probably not.
You don't know how to do any of those things. You've never done any of those things.
Well, hopefully when she is released, maybe her dad will step up to the plate.
Maybe.
Somebody, hopefully.
Yeah.
In her family.
Yeah. Her dad said in an interview, I don't remember who it was with, Dateline or 2020 or someone, but he said in an interview that he had seen his daughter walk for the first time in his life and her life whenever she was on trial. Can you imagine seeing that as a father?
No.
You've known something.
But that makes me question how good of a relationship do you truly have with your daughter?
Well, he didn't. He didn't have a relationship with her because he was
Dee Dee.
Yeah, and because of the disability. I mean, he was living in Louisiana still. They moved up to Missouri.
I still think priorities. If you want to make a relationship with your child, you do make it happen somehow.
You make it happen, and I'm sorry. How did your parental instinct not kick in and be like, something's wrong?
Up.
Yeah, something's wrong. How?
2 and 2 don't make sense.
Yeah, 2 and 2 equals 4, not 12.
No.
So there was something going on. So I don't know. I would hope that the justice system, which I don't have any
hope for, I don't either.
Girl. Yeah, any confidence in.
No.
I would hope that they would at least make her parole out to an appropriate mental institution or facility of some sort, because
I would hope that it's a requirement,
yeah,
that she would need to continuously seek therapy.
Yeah.
I agree. I do agree with
psychiatric help.
Yes.
Do
you, can I ask, do you agree with her being released early?
That's where I go back and forth. It's I have sympathy for her because of what she endured as a child and a young adult. I do. I truly do. But then again, she orchestrated this entire thing. And the fact that she had sex right after.
In the house that your mother got murdered in from your boyfriend, said boyfriend.
Yes.
And you're fucking him now.
Yes.
That is bizarre.
I know. So it's I don't know. I go back and forth. I think 10 years was the appropriate time for her to reflect and hopefully get therapy and hopefully get something.
The help that she needed.
Yeah, within prison. But then again,
maybe structure. Maybe that's what she's learning from the people in there. Some sort of socialism that she's been, neglected from all her life while she was living with her mother.
Right. So I don't know. I go back and forth. What do you think? Do you think she has served enough time? Do you think she should be paroled out early?
I think if she has been on her good behavior, yes, I agree. I think that, I'm everybody deserves a second chance.
For sure.
Hopefully, like I was telling you, hopefully she got the help she needed while she was in prison.
Yeah.
And then hopefully she continues the healing process, what it takes to actually be a good person. It does not take a lot to be a good person.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know. I agree.
I'm sure it's going to be a long road for her.
It will. And people do deserve second chances. Like if you think about her life, she's just getting started.
And she's young. She's young. I'm like, she's still young.
32.
She's 32 years young. I'm like, girl, you got a whole life ahead of you. You just continue to,
keep it
push
positive.
forward. Yeah, push forward and rise above the bullshit.
I
rise
know.
above the shit that, the life that you've been handed, essentially. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But hopefully in this lifetime, you can move forward and heal what needs to be healed within yourself so that your afterlife, you move forward. That's it.
I would hope that, so I had read on Reddit. I like to read on Reddit a lot, like whenever I'm researching cases, just because I like to hear what other people or read what other people are saying. And a lot of people that know people included in the cases that I'm researching will like type shit on there. And one person had said that they were like best friends with Gypsy. They met her in prison. And that she receives so many letters from men, like just random men are like obsessed with her. So my point is I hope she doesn't get like taken advantage of by another man because she's just seeking attention in some way, shape, or form. She's had nothing but negative attention her entire life. And now I hope whenever she gets out, I hope she has the tools to be able to have like a successful relationship and life. Yeah. So, if you look at her, looking at the pictures of whenever she was like a sick little girl, she looks completely different than what she looks like right now.
She has a glow up. Okay. Ever since she left her mama's house, she glowed up.
She's cute. Like she's a cute woman.
I agree.
She's a pretty woman. And I think that like men are going to try to take advantage of her. And I don't know. I hope she's like strong enough to steer away from that and just be strong. Another
that's why
thing,
I said I hope she has the support of her family. Like at least the family
friends,
now. Yes. Now that it's all out there.
Yes, I hope so too.
Why? What would hold you back now at this point?
Get involved in a church. I don't like if you are religious, if you're not religious, get involved in, I don't know, a cult, whatever the fuck. But like get involved in a group of people that's actually going to support you. Whether it's family,
push
friends,
you to do better, push you to be better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know it makes me sad for her, but I'm curious to see what happens. She apparently said too, and this was on Reddit, that she wants to like be part of the true crime world. So she wants to like tell her story. So whether that's like podcasting or a show, she's obviously made money off of other interviews and stuff like that. So I hope she uses that. Yeah. So I hope she uses that to her advantage to be able to maybe like talk to people who could be in a potential similar situation, like talk to other women or I don't know, children.
Hopefully her
or
case
something.
has opened new light and shed new light and exposed this this disease essentially and this sickness out into the world so that people realize it is not as uncommon as you probably think it is. It probably happens more often than or you want to realize.
I think it definitely does. If you think about it, like some people are, I don't know, hypochondriacs and they just think that
germaphobes,
especially with COVID, like
yeah,
they just COVID, but like they think that they are going to get sick, when
sickness has already been out there, fellows.
Forever, for thousands and thousands of years. And so if you think about, I feel like Munchausen by proxy is probably on the increase since 2020.
I agree.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think that people over exaggerate or over dramatize the symptoms and the whatever they think it is. Oh, it's not the flu. The flu no longer exists. Now it's this, it's that.
Yeah.
And now people just want to self-diagnose themselves. Yes. Everybody's a doctor now because we got WebMD telling us this is what you got.
Yes. I think so too. I think so too. And I also think that like any little sneeze or cough, like people think that people are sick.
Oh yeah, you got to go home.
Yeah. You got to go home.
You're
and
sick.
What's funny is like here in the Midwest, I hate to say it, but people are always sneezing. People are always coughing. We have allergies. There's pollen.
Yes,
There's
every
mold.
Day. Something's being released into the air. Okay, guys? It's something. If it's not oak, it's probably pollen from your freaking rose bush. Like, I don't know.
Exactly. So, I don't know. I think it's just funny. I think it's funny to think about that. So, Munchausen, I think it would definitely be on the rise.
Yes, I agree.
So, she'll be released December 28th.
Okay, so what about Nicholas, though? How you feel about him? How you feel about old boy Nicholas?
So, I mean, he got life in prison with an additional 25 years for armed criminal action. I don't think it's fair. I mean, the poor kid, his IQ level was very low.
Wasn't it like 40?
Yeah. Like very
low
very
compared
low.
to the average like person
and compared to hers.
Yeah.
Too. Like, so her IQ was low, but it wasn't that low. So I don't think that's right. I don't know. Yes, he did it, but I think he was just blinded by love. I think he was blinded by trying to help her, trying to get her out of the situation. I mean, she like pleaded with him for years. Like, please help me.
3 years?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, he like did everything he could. He saved his money, to get a bus ticket and all of that stuff. And it's like, and he's the one to take the fall of it. I think if anything, he probably should have gotten the same amount of rehabilitation as she did.
I agree.
I don't think he deserves life in prison. Yes, he took a life.
Well, hopefully he's able to appeal his case then.
Yeah, hopefully. I did not research anything about him other than like where he is today. And he is still in prison, like still on.
Do we know where he's like stationed at?
I did not see. I would imagine somewhere in Missouri because the crime was committed here in Springfield. Yeah. So he would be in the Missouri Department of Corrections. But yeah, I don't know. I feel bad for him. I feel bad for her, but I feel bad for him too because he's a victim in all of this.
They all are. They're all victims in this situation.
Yeah, they are.
It's unfortunate. It definitely is unfortunate what happened to Gypsy growing up in the home that she had to deal with. And I mean, I just don't understand why nobody, ever really pushed.
Why did nobody advocate for her?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, why was nobody really pushing for her, for somebody to get her help?
Right. And this is why, like, I do not agree with the justice system is you have 2 clinical professionals reporting this.
And nobody wants to take it seriously.
And nobody took it seriously. The caseworker walked in and walked right back out. And, I remembered I was in like a criminal justice class in college and I had to go and sit in on a trial. And the trial here in town, what I sat in was a child that had been severely neglected and abused. Like, this boy was like 12 years old, but weighed like 40 pounds, like in a cage and everything. And you know how many times the social worker had gone out there to the house to physically see the child dozens of times. But the social worker never actually physically saw him because the parents would say like, oh, well, he's fine or something.
Oh,
like he's at this activity or he's at that activity. So they would never like follow up to actually see him. And the teachers were calling over and over and over again. And the poor kid was dying.
Is that like Andrew Hernandez case, the little boy?
Similar, but it was here in town. Here in town. Yeah, it was terrible. And so I'm like, ever since that moment, it's like you have zero confidence in the justice system. And then they failed her. They failed Gypsy.
A lot of people failed her, though, unfortunately, in her situation. Yes. So I was like, that makes me really like hurt for her and super sad for her in that situation. But
I don't understand. So I don't know. I hope she gets the help that she deserves. I hope she already has gotten the help that she deserves. I hope she doesn't get taken advantage of.
I definitely hope she has a plan.
I hope she has
when she gets out,
Right. Like, you can't just get out and live your life. Like, you've got to figure it out. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, you don't even have a cell phone. Like, you don't even know how to use a cell phone.
Well, if she does move forward with the podcast, I'd love to hear it.
Me too. Yeah, me too. I would
kind of dive into that brain and see, you know, what really is going on and what she's thinking.
Yeah, I would too. All right.
Well,
what else? Anything else you have for me?
No, I think that's it. I know that the topic of, you know, whether people agree or not agree with her being released early has been, you know, spoken about just with the news now regarding this case. But when I've talked about it, you know, I tell people, I'm like, I agree and I, you know, don't agree. Because there is the sympathetic, you know, like I feel sympathy in her situation because she was going through hell, essentially. Like, no one wants to be put in that kind of home life.
Be a prisoner
in your own home. That's terrible.
Yeah.
But
by their mother.
And then who are you going to ask for help? Yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, did she truly know better, though? Yeah. Did she?
I know.
Are you just playing dumb?
Right.
And are you actually essentially fucking the justice system because you're a mastermind, a little bit smarter? Because you're a manipulator. Think about it. Her mom was the master manipulator.
Yes. So she learned that
from the best.
From the best. I know.
So that's where my mind gets a little. That's what I'm saying. And that's what I tell people. I'm like, you guys say she didn't know, but homegirl was fucking her
boyfriend,
essentially the murderer of her mother,
minutes after,
in the home while her mom was bleeding out, homies. Okay, like that's how serious we are. Then you fucking like hop a skip and went back home with him.
Yes.
And then it took you how many days to be like, okay, now I think I feel a little bit more. So, hey, Nick, why don't you blast this, you know, for everyone to see on Facebook? You know, no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal.
No one's going to realize why you're doing this.
Yeah. Someone's going to
So here you are again. Yeah, here you are again now masterminding this poor dude.
I know.
So, you know, it just gets my wheels turning.
It gets my wheels turning, too. That's why I'm so torn and I'm so conflicted because I research, and you listen to a lot of podcasts about, like,
100%.
serial killers and stuff. But I research, like, the psychology around all of this. And most of the serial killers, their IQ level is so fucking high. They are so smart. And her IQ level was fairly low. However, could she have faked it?
Exactly.
It's a test. Like, you can pretend that you don't know, you know.
But low-key, you know.
And sure, she didn't go to school. Like, her mother homeschooled her. But who's to say that her mom didn't actually, like, teach her shit? I don't know. I go 50-50. I feel for the girl. But then again, I'm like, wait, was she truly...
Do you think she'd do it again?
Behind it? I don't think she would.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I mean, she doesn't have anybody to kill, you know, unless
all
it's
the people that let her down.
Yeah, unless it's like a lover, somebody that lets her down. I don't think she will. I think.
You don't think once a killer, always a killer?
I mean, I do. I definitely do. I don't know if you can really like be rehabilitated in that sense, but.
Because my mind is questioning, like, did you truly get off on it, ma'am?
Right.
Did you?
Right. I mean, you had sex with your boyfriend. So.
That's what I'm saying. Okay.
I know.
Well, I guess that's all the tea we have then.
That is all the tea we have for today. So, as you all know, I'll just do the quick little spiel. 5-star reviews is what we need.
5-star.
Yes, 5-star is what we need. And as always... Stay sinister.
Stay sinister.
Bye.
Bye.